Welcome to the AlitaArmy channel. This is Radio KAOS, the voice of the AlitaArmy, episode 38, all aboard the Alita re-release hype train, where we discuss all the things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the Source manga Gunmu, and the greatly desired sequels. I'm your host for this episode, Max Tech Giroy, and with me are Star Avellian pushing all the buttons there in Michigan. G'day, Star. His mic's muted. There he is. We got Angelus in Brisbane, Australia. G'day, Angelus.
G'day, mates.
We've got Dennis in Munich, Germany. Hey, Dennis.
Hey there, everyone.
We've got John Hoots is in Arkansas. G'day, John.
Hello, hello.
Foxfire over there in Germany, punching buttons, making Alita models. Hey, Fox.
Hey.
Eddie McTrigger may drop in later. He's in Florida. And for guests today, we've got Mr. Controversy 83, also known as Mike Rehes. He's from Cinema Blend Writer, and he's also a huge Alita advocate, and he's in New Jersey. G'day, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, good day to you back. Good day right back. It's good to be here. Finally.
Yay.
Whoa.
Although you've still got a bit of a record to beat because it took us 6 months to get Pat Cadigan on, so you haven't stretched it out nearly long enough.
I'll keep that in mind for next time then.
Excellent. So we might have Dan from the Movie Seller pop in, but I haven't heard anything from him, so I think he's MIA. Speaking of other MIAs, nobody's seen Den for a couple of weeks, so we don't know what's going on there. And Cranberry Jam will drop in hopefully in the latter half of the show. She's just recording lines for the prequel trailer that we're trying to get done by Halloween. So there's lots of stuff happening. But, of course, the big excitement at the moment is the countdown to the pre-release. So, Mike, do you want to give us a little bit of a run-in on how you got involved with the fandom and what you're planning to do over Halloween?
Well, I'll go with the short answer first. What I'm planning to do for Halloween is probably just, hand out candy to the kids in the neighborhood. And it looks like Friday night is going to be my turn to go to the big re-release over here in Jersey.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've got some cinemas playing it near you.
Yes, quite a couple, actually. I was pleasantly surprised because the big thing that I was depending on was AMC jumping in. Because Cinemark is kind of a more sparsely populated chain around here. And since Regal was out of the picture, it's like, okay, if I have to drive out to Cinemark, I will. But I was really hoping, there's so many more AMCs that are closer. They're the bigger game in town. So I was crossing my fingers. And then when they announced, it's like, okay, I know where I'm going exactly.
Well, you're doing better than Davo and I because we'd have to travel 28 hours on an international flight, which they don't have at the moment, just to see it. So...
Oh yeah, things are happening that people aren't flying. I forgot that. It's pretty easy to forget that in this today and what's going on.
Yeah, totally. But we're so jealous of you guys over in America. With your riots and your pandemics and your election and all. But there is one bright spark at least, which is the re-release, which is fantastic. We're hoping that it does well so that the Alita box office will tick over a little bit more, possibly push it over that line that's needed for the sequel. That's what we're hoping. So this is a fantastic opportunity, and I'm glad that everybody's jumping on board and going safely to the cinema, which is what we want to see.
And so that'll make it the best movie of 2019 and 2020.
I don't know. The year's still young. We might still get some surprises before the end of the year.
That's true.
True.
I have to admit, if No Time to Die wasn't pushed back, that probably took it, I reckon.
Yeah. That's
True.
I was
man.
looking for it.
We have a new 2020 curse. Everyone is speaking in Borat style again. Very nice. Great success.
That is so earned though, because the new Borat movie is amazing.
It's hilarious. I really like. Great movie. Great.
Very good cultural learnings for America.
I appreciate very much.
So welcome to the Borat Army.
That's a good
I could do that. funny.
Sorry,
Bye.
I'll be back off the garden path on track again. Sorry, guys.
Hey, you
It
know,
will be
that's,
Radio
that's another
Chaos if it
Fox
wasn't Radio
property.
Good old Fox. Don't exist.
Yeah.
Just
Amazon.
Yeah.
The subsequent movie film.
And like the 4 different titles the movie takes during the course of events. Like that was one of the gags that killed me was how they kept changing the title of the movie. Question starts. In part, I would say probably in the late 90s, early aughts, because I had first heard of Battle Angel Alita, the American title for the manga, and it sounded cool. I never really got to read it or watch the anime, but just hearing about the concepts, like, okay, cool. I saw pieces of art from it, and it's like, this looks like something really up my alley. And then, the announcement comes like, oh, James Cameron's, developing Battle Angel Alita and Project 880, and he's got to decide which one he's going to do first. And then, Project 880 becomes Avatar, and that looked cool. It was okay when it came out, and it was still, the record setter, broke a lot of ground for CGI. But then Alita Battle Angel kind of came back into the picture, and I remembered hearing that name in a different form from when I was growing up. And then the first trailers hit, and then I go to that press screening that they had, because they had a huge all hands IMAX screening when I think it was when the film premiered in London, and then they had like the huge Q&A afterwards. Although for some reason they didn't play the Q&A in the theater. We just got the movie and then that was it, because they had like some technical difficulties. But watching the movie just blew it wide open for me. I remembered what I was hoping for with Avatar, and I finally got it with Alita. And what I was hoping for was this huge sci-fi world that just kind of blew me away with the visuals and the story and the stuff that you clearly see James Cameron's DNA and all that, because he's just a talented, noted filmmaker. And then to see that mixed with Robert Rodriguez and what he brings to the table as a filmmaker, I was totally in awe. I gave the film a 4.5 out of 5 when I wrote the review. I was hoping that the 3D would have been a little better, but the 3D was still cool. It was just maybe the way they were showing it in my auditorium, some of the scenes were kind of spotty, but I didn't care. I was watching this film that just completely, totally sucked me in.
Yeah, well, Avatar was Pocahontas in space, so that wasn't any sort of anything new story-wise.
Yeah, or as South Park lovingly put it, dances with Smurfs. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That is a very good apt description. Yes. I noticed that the 3D when there was fast movement across the screen, the 3D couldn't keep up. But other than that, it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, there was still clean depth and wonderful, eye-popping, because one of the things I look for back in, the before times when people used to go sit in movie theaters and watch things in 3D, they would often have me go to the 3D screenings of movies and do the reviews for those on Cinema Blend. And one of the things I really noticed with Alita was it popped out of the screen. Not every film does that. Like, I still remember Gruishka's tentacles, popping out, and then Alita sort of jumping through that spiral and just being amazed at the fact that the depth of picture was so there.
Well, I guess that's the difference between a movie being turned into 3D and a movie being filmed in 3D. And of course, being directed by James Cameron, it would be properly filmed in 3D, and that's what they did.
They used stereoscopic cameras to be able to film it natively in 3D. And also one of the really big perks in that movie was that they used 7 depths of depth layers. Usually movies tend to use only 3, so they have a lot bigger variety of depths they could portray. So they used that depth not just to pop up was maybe even the smaller part. They used that depth to go further into the screen, basically, and give to give the impression of a huge world behind that screen.
Oh, definitely. That's where your blurriness comes in, because the blurrier a picture is, the more it's being manipulated.
Yep.
There's been some comments about the darkness of the 3D print as well. That it wasn't as bright as, say, the 4K version or 3.2 at the cinema.
That might
I think
also
it
be
really
the theater you're seeing the movie in too.
Depending on what format you're watching. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yep.
I don't know if it's still true, but IMAX used to have a whole different 3D format, if I remember correctly. And plus, depending on where you go, they may not recalibrate their projectors.
So it could be the display side, not the actual print. You're quite right.
I watched it in several cinemas. I experienced only one cinema with very bright projectors, and it only depended on the projection technology. There was nothing wrong with the movie.
Yeah, I was just thinking, is it even necessarily a bad thing? Because like you want, like when the sun is out and it's daytime, you want it to be bright, and when it's nighttime, you definitely want it to be dark. Considering
it was definitely better when it was brighter, but it only depended on the cinema itself. I only had experienced one cinema. It was 300 miles right, and it was awesome.
So we've already got a couple of questions for you, Mike, from the text chat, one of which was from Charles Schmidt. You've published articles about Alita on Cinema Blend. Do you know how many people have seen the articles on average? He's guessing around 100,000 or more would have seen them. Do you have any figures on that?
I don't have it on me right now, and I'd probably have to. I think that some of our reports might be able to show me how they look on the day they first drop. But what I can say is the reason we write so much about Alita is because you fans love coming to read Alita from us. So that actually ties into how I became more involved with the fandom, because one of my editors, Sean O'Connell, he sort of wanted me to take over covering Alita because he knew that I really not take over it completely, but be like an expert on staff. Because he's like, look, you love this movie. You've written about it quite a bit already. Would you mind sort of keeping your eyes peeled for that? And, you know, we want to cover the AlitaArmy, because he's had a lot of success with covering the Snyder Cut army, for lack of a better term. You know, I don't know if they prefer to be called an army, but, you know, the Snyder Cut fans. So we really wanted to sort of tap into what the fans would want to know about, and also what the fans have been doing. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I think people are reading us, is because this is something that's still going on in a year that we wish more news was breaking. But everybody kind of has to get creative and look for what people are interested in. And it just so happened you guys have been reading us.
Yes, well, you write it. We'll come. That's pretty much how it goes. We have guys that search the internet every single day for anything to do with Alita. So if you publish it, we'll see it.
Yeah, so I was going to say what's on the screen right now is the first article that I remember seeing from Mike Reyes, and that was in March 2019. And it, you know, I was looking back then for news, and this was at a time when there wasn't a lot of positive news for Alita at all. It was pretty, it was hard pickings, really. And so it stood out to me that Cinema Blend had always sort of been more positive towards Alita than the other outlets. And I didn't really recognize the name Mike Reyes, of course, back then, but now I'm looking back and saying, oh, okay, that's who it was. So
I'm just absolutely flattered that people read this stuff. And just going on my own experience, one of the things I love about working at Cinema Blend is the fact that we have people that are very passionate about things, and we have people that are fans of very particular things, and we just really get a good opportunity to write about it. And especially when a fandom latches onto it like you guys, then that's that's great for us because, you know, ultimately we're in the business to report what's going on, but we're also in a business to talk with the fans. I mean, why not? Otherwise, how does something like Alita or Star Wars or any of this get to be what it is? It's fan driven.
Oh wow. There is another question from Vladdy, but just a more recent update. Charles Smith just said that after an article on the Alita sequel petition about a year ago, the signatures for the petition jumped from about 60 to 80K within 2 days. And 99% of that would have been from the Cinema Blend, fan base, if you want to call it that.
Wow.
The only other jump like that we had,
Wasn't that also in the Game of Thrones
at the same time, was when the Game of Thrones people jumped over from their big season 8 sucks petition.
Of votes. Yeah, that's true. I think it's like a once in a decade thing to happen, something like that. But what is also cool to know why it's so important to have you guys on board is when you post an article, and those articles usually drop by on Google News pages where most people have an Android phone, and you have a dedicated page on that phone for news. And if you're interested in any sorts of film news, especially sci-fi or superhero movies, etc., then those articles will drop by too. So you reach a lot of people. So just because you are writing about Alita.
You know what's really funny is when you become an expert in something, or when you write a lot about something, like you Google it a lot, and you'll read other things. But what's really funny is you open up the Google homepage yourself, and then you see an article, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I wrote that. Oh, no wonder it's going to show me that. It's like, oh, Alita sequel, blah, 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 blah. Hey, wait a minute, I remember that headline. I just wrote that yesterday.
Yeah, and it's personalized, but everybody that falls into the same category who reads that kind of news, it doesn't need to be like Alita. If you read superhero movies, like Marvel, DC, and all that stuff, then Alita might fall into the same category because it's quite close to that. And so people will read it from other fan bases too, not just Alita fans.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just the internet for you. It's not in a negative way. It's an information monster. It looks into habits, and it'll pull out similar things that you happen to like. And it's kind of funny that you look at the numbers. You wouldn't be able to say that Alita is on the Marvel level, but that's by the numbers. You look at the fandom, you look at the inspiration. I would put those on similar wavelengths. I mean, not one for one, but both are very motivated fan bases that happen to love the internet.
Well, Marvel doesn't have to sort of campaign to get their sequels. They've had like 20 of them, and they're just going to keep tumbling, presuming that there's a movie industry next year. But
hey, I need that industry.
Yes, I know you do. We all do, because we need our entertainment. But we also need it because we need our Alita sequel. So we're going to keep campaigning until we get the Alita sequel. And once we do get our Alita sequel, because it is happening, it's just a matter of time, then we are going to campaign the hell out of it to get it advertised and make sure that domestically it gets way more than 100 million.
Are you telling me that you wouldn't watch an Alita Broadway show, like a stage play?
Well, I'd have to travel to America to do it, but yeah, I would.
Oh, all right. So if that opened on stage, it would go worldwide. They would probably do a Fathom event, or it would probably do well enough that they would just send it over to other countries.
Well, there's a whole lot of cosplayers that could probably get in a chorus line of Alitas, I'm quite sure. That would be awesome.
Broadway.
And who says we can stop at
Andrew Lloyd Webber on the phone.
Man.
Could you see the high kicks of a line of Alitas? in a lineup? That would be amazing.
All dressed in bunny outfits.
Oi, that's a little too far along in the story. God, bunnies. Jesus.
It's also, I think, interesting to mention that when you look up those Google statistics and how many hits specific characters have, and yes, if you look up something like Spider-Man, who's like existing for decades, he has like, I don't know, 100 million or 80 million clicks or whatever, and other characters, and compare that, and you see an Alita Battle Angel having like 11 million clicks in just that short amount of time that it exists as a movie. So that's also very interesting to compare, I would say.
For sure. I mean, that's another really interesting thing about the internet, because on any given day, I'll go on Twitter, and because of the people that I follow, I'll see this movie or that movie is mentioned that I haven't heard of in a long time, getting overdue recognition. Like I forget who it was that I was talking with, but one of the other AlitaArmy members and I were talking about Southland Tales today, and how that was, this is a movie that was very, I wouldn't say frowned upon, but just very underrated in its time. But now we're about 12 years on, and they're just about to re-release it with a full extended cut. And movies like these have more time to breathe and be discovered through the internet and through streaming. I mean, look at how many people you see after Alita debuted on HBO. How many people were like, wow, I saw Alita Battle Angel. I don't know why I didn't see that before. That was pretty awesome.
And that's just like the spear top of the people who go that far out of the way to talk about on Twitter. Like most people like enjoy it, but people go on with their day. But a few of them, like a small percentage, goes out of the way to talk about that. So it means like there's a really big bulk of people who just enjoy it, and they are reached basically. So yeah.
We've had a number of streams where we've discussed things like the advertising team at Fox phoning in the advertising because they were all looking for new jobs. They had they were being basically let go, so they weren't doing much of a job as far as the advertising was concerned for Alita, and the timing, which could have been much worse. It was a year later, but what was going on in cinemas at the time, there was definitely a push to try and push Alita down while other movies got the limelight. But that all that negativity sort of gone away now, and I feel that Alita's being seen more for what it is than what it was being portrayed as. So I'm a lot happier where Alita stands in the situation for this re-release, because there's none of that negativity anymore.
Agreed.
It really used in the earlier days of like when I was growing up, and I'm sure when a lot of us were growing up, back when the blockbuster was sort of building itself in terms of release model, it always used to be that a movie could go on as being a number one movie for a long time, or it could go on as doing well for a long time. But as we've seen with the advent of the internet and more movies being released, it's like it comes to a point where opening weekend can be live or die. And sometimes you'll see a movie like Murder on the Orient Express, where it did well enough that it was considered a hit, and it was released right against a Star Wars movie. And I think
Yeah, that's true, actually.
while the theatrical model isn't running that way too often, I think that a lot of movies are still finding their legs and finding a longer legacy through streaming, through home video, through word of mouth on the internet. And thankfully, there's more ways to keep them in print and in circulation, because I'm going to go a little more obscure here. You look at the Rocky Horror follow-up Shock Treatment. That movie was not in print for a long while before it came back on DVD. But you still had very solid fans that would talk about it. And I'm wondering if the internet was part of why that even went to DVD. But that movie could have been lost forever. And there's still some out there that could be lost forever because of how things were due to a lack of preservation.
Oof, yeah. The Princess Bride took forever to come to DVD as well. I remember that one. We waited around for about 15 years for that as well.
Yeah, remember Star Wars?
But that was more to do. Well, I was always on VHS. I mean, I had it on VHS for years before the DVDs arrived. But yeah, I don't know whether that was just Lucas couldn't decide how he wanted them presented because he was playing around with the visuals again.
I think that's exactly what it was.
You guys,
he even like re-edited it, like reshot some of the scenes and like basically recut it again. Because I remember owning like this really like snazzy collector's edition, if you want to call it that, and like it had scenes like of a CGI Jabba, like outside of the palace, and without the CGI, Harrison Ford would just be like walking over a stool, but in the movie he'd be walking over Jabba's tail, and I just like remember little bits and pieces like that, and yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the big '97 special edition. The first special edition, because then I think it was 2003 when they brought it to DVD. Then they did another special edition and cleaned other effects up, and we'll probably get another one for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. I've got a question about. I've read an article like from yesterday or 2 days ago, and I don't know how credible that is, but it's also another of those secret rumors, and it was linked to a person whose name I can't remember. Do you know what I'm talking about, Max?
Yeah, I have that in the show notes.
Okay.
I think that was now. Let me see if I can find it.
That's the scoop that's hiding behind a Patreon wall, right?
Yes.
Yes. Is that Full Circle Cinema? Is that the one you're referring to?
I think yes. Do you know something about it, Mike?
There was nothing.
Go on.
I was just saying there was nothing new in there. There was just a single statement.
Yeah, I know they picked up that's the scooper. I forget the scooper's name, but it was basically hiding behind a $5 Patreon post. That there was something, it just said Alita 2. There really wasn't a lot of details in on that, so I don't know how credible it is. But at the same time, I want to believe it's credible because I don't think you would see the studio getting behind even just a Twitter post without some sort of discussion. Like maybe right now the discussions are okay. We want this to make X amount, and if it hits X, then maybe we'll go into development and announce something. So this may be just preliminary rumblings and talking about, okay, maybe we start spinning the wheels and getting things in motion just in case.
Speaking of getting things in motion, and when you mentioned Twitter as well, not even the past 24 hours, and Rodriguez comes up with the double whammy in Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of our news. We actually normally do a big news section, but we've got into the discussion a little bit early.
Get the news.
Okay, we'll do the news. So it's time for the news now. Where's my Star? Do you want to pull up the blog? So we'll go through the blog first. There's actually been a whole heap of stuff that's happened this week. So I always figured that the news would peter out and die because getting further and further away from the original theatrical release and further away from the home cinema release, what the hell would we have to talk about? You know, the long dark tea time between home release and greenlit announcement. But my God, I mean, I don't know if it's the AlitaArmy or... this is stuff happening all the time.
It's AlitaArmy.
I've never been short of something to talk about in the news section, so it's just bloody amazing. Okay, so you may know all this, Mike, but just chime in if there's anything you don't know or if you've heard anything interesting to do with these news reports. But the AlitaArmy put together a re-release advertising campaign fundraising event. It had 38 backers. It was 243% funded. We were after 1,587 to go towards a billboard in, I believe it's Tampa, Florida. Is that correct?
That sounds about right.
I thought it was Orlando.
Orlando.
No, my apologies, Orlando, Florida. So we hit that in 20 minutes. Thank you, AlitaArmy. You guys are always awesome.
You absolute beauties, you.
Yeah, they well, you know, there's so little merch that they got this money burning a hole in the pocket with Alita written on it, right? So they got to do something with it.
I know. I still remember looking at that insert in the DVD, and it's like, oh, this is a lot of cool stuff, but is this it?
Yeah, that was it. That's another thing about the merger. I think that the whole merch side of it just fell over because of the merger. But we ended up with $3,864 on that funding campaign, of which 1,050 went to Feeding America, which we always try and have a charity collection involved with part of our fundraising. That's one of the things that AlitaArmy likes to do. And also 1,050 went towards YouTube ads. So have you seen the YouTube ad yet, Mike?
Oh, yes, I have. And I think I'm impressed. I was amazingly impressed by that ad because, as we were talking before, the marketing campaign for when the movie came out was okay. I still loved the trailer when I first saw it. And obviously, you know, there was something that brought us all to the table. But watching that re-edit, I was amazed at just how new it kind of looked. Like, I know this movie. I've watched this movie several times, but the way that it's presented in this was still energetic and fast and moving, and just the, you know, even down to the music choice, it was energizing.
The music was perfect. Perfect choice.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You've got Rodriguez's cuts and camera angles, which are always so powerful, and yet they didn't feel like they used it particularly well in the original trailers.
Well, see, part of what might have been going on is, even though they had spent a couple years making this movie and getting to know this movie, studios usually hire a trailer editing house to make the movie. Like, they'll get to watch some of, if not all of the movie, and they'll get to put a trailer together. And even with your best trailer organizers doing that, the movie is kind of unknown to the public. With something like Alita, where it's like, maybe it's something that hasn't really been shown in movie theaters. It's unknown to the public. It's easier to kind of do like a Marvel or a Jurassic World or something that a known quantity that people know. And even though Alita had its legacy as a manga, they may not have really known how to sell the film version of it. So now in hindsight, it's kind of easy for us to say, oh, you throw in Motorball, you throw in this music, you throw in that line. But back then it might have been like, okay, how do we get the most people in here? What looks the best?
Well, we have at least a handful of people who regularly re-edit Alita music videos. And they've also done their own fan trailers and things like that. So they've been practicing this for a year and a half, 2 years. So yeah, they've had the time to hone the craft. So you're quite right.
I mean, just imagine what would happen if you get those people behind a sequel.
Exactly. Well, I've known some of these people that watched the movie 100 times. So
all it takes is the right trailer for one of those trailer houses to say, okay, I want to hire you. Or, you know, you apply to a trailer house and you cut that sort of stuff for like years beforehand. And then the work just speaks for itself. And for all you know, you could be the person cutting the trailer on Alita 2.
Yeah. Well, I'm just hopeful that people can go to the cinema safely and actually see this on the big screen, because it is a big screen movie. There's no way you can get the same feeling on a small screen.
No, absolutely. I mean, I still love watching it at home, but you know, I was talking with my wife the other day. I was like, oh, you know, I'll go see Alita. You know, I won't drag you out to go see this again if you don't want to, because, you know, I've watched it a couple of times at home. And, you know, the last movie I almost drove her crazy with was The Martian, because I was watching it like almost any time it was on HBO. But then she was like, no, you know, it's different when it's on the big screen. It's a big screen movie. So, yeah, I'll go again.
I'm sorry, I only have one Martian. And she's got the top spot.
With a bionic enhancement like Alita, could you imagine how many more potatoes Mark Watney would have been able to plant?
Quite a few.
All of Mars would have been a potato field.
Easy a little bit. He just
Easily.
needs a little bit of chocolate for his brain.
That's right.
I'm sorry, that was weak.
Accurate. At least it wasn't pineapple pizza, dude.
Oh my God!
Oh.
Stop.
Yeah.
The thing that we get up to when we're not talking about Alita directly.
Vegemite on potatoes.
What? That's a
Oh.
new one.
That'll work.
He might.
Okay, so
Salty taters.
moving back into the news before we get stuck into our side conversations. So Marcus Theatres joined the re-release bandwagon in the last week. So they've now said that they're putting Alita back on screens on October 30th. So there's even more cinema chains coming to the party, which is great to hear. We've already got the tweet showing of the billboard. So that's actually really quite bright. It's not showing 100% of the time. I think it's like 20 seconds in every 2 minutes. So it's actually changing as it moves around. But when it is showing, it is very striking. So that's terrific. And
I've not seen
well
it
done,
once.
Foxfire, for organising that. Foxfire is our billboard guy. From Germany, he organises billboards in the US, so he's very international.
Yeah.
Yes. So Robert Rodriguez has been very much on our side tweet-wise. Now, we have some extra stuff that didn't make it into the blog. Where are we?
Wait, which
So,
picture did Robert retweet? I only saw the Yoda one, I think.
yeah, so I've got the tweets where he retweeted some fan art, and then he retweeted Paul Untitled's artwork with Baby
Okay.
Yoda and Baby Alita. But I don't
Baby
think I have the tweet where he retweeted the billboard.
If you want,
Do you have that one somewhere, Star?
if you want to bring up those two, I'll take a quick squid editing that.
Was it? Oh, yes, here it is. Robert Rodriguez retweeted. Yeah. So he retweeted the AlitaArmy post about the billboard. So Rob Rod's started to notice the AlitaArmy's efforts, which is terrific. Actually, maybe share my screen. It might be easier. See, Radio KAOS has a very long tradition of having technical difficulties because it's part of the chaos, part of Radio KAOS. So we often have these problems. Okay, so I think that's visible now.
Ooh,
So
such
there's
a nice billboard.
yeah. So we've got Robert Rodriguez retweeted the AlitaArmy post about the billboard. So he's done that. He's also now where is it? There we go. Okay, so
Oh yes,
yeah.
I love that artwork.
It's amazing.
But that artwork is beautiful as art rather than photoshopping. But the stuff that Paul Untitled does is just beyond amazing. I don't know how he does it. I have no clue.
What I like about this art is how good he captured the passion of Alita in her eyes. It's looking like it's gleaming of fire, you know. So that's what I really like about that art.
So
It really builds off of the anger from the end of the movie too, because I was rewatching that moment to screen cap something for a headline, and just watching her face get to that point where the eyes narrow and it's just she turns the plasma corona on the Damascus blade. It's a hell of a cliffhanger.
It's amazing. It's like you may be at that moment be angry because the movie ends at that point, but it's such an iconic ending that it became something of its own. So like a statement, you could say, or something really beautiful. And it's a really awesome moment they created there.
Well, props go to Rosa because that's all Rosa. The amount of emotion that she put into her facial expressions that came through in the Alita model from Weta. I mean, it was just like a beautiful marriage. You had her amazing mocap performance and then the amazing 3D work that Weta did came together to produce something that was so unique and so amazing that the old fuddy-duddies at the Oscar nominations group couldn't actually tell that it was CG.
I still don't get how that they did not get at least a nomination, because you go back to that. First of all, this is an amazing Blu-ray with like so many bonus features thrown in there, and just watching all of those comparisons and all the layers that went into that, I'm just in awe.
Yep. But alas.
And also the book, that this making of book also goes very deep into all of that, and it's just a book how well it is made and the quality, and you see also they put in every scene hundreds of different variations to find the best one, and it's amazing. Like, so the designs, especially when you look, for instance, the roller skates they had, there's so many different variants before they took that one right one. Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, so this is the artwork that Paul Untitled put together, because obviously Alita Battle Angel is Robert Rodriguez's highest grossing film ever as a director, and he's also directed several of the episodes for The Mandalorian. So pulling the two together, because they're both happening on October 30, which was some sort of amazing coincidence. But
Wait, really?
Yeah, so The Mandalorian's coming back on October 30 with season 2 on Disney Plus, and Alita Battle Angel was re-released in cinemas. So Rob Rod's having a big Halloween.
Well, it depends on whether he directed the premiere or not, because I think Mandalorian's still going weekly.
Yes, it is. So no, he may not have directed the premiere, but he's directing several of the episodes. So that was.
I'm so excited.
I mean, people will still be able to watch the episode of Mandalorian and right after go to the cinema and watch Alita. So
how do you not want that in a night? That's a lot of exciting geek stuff to get into.
I want to see more Darksaber. More Darksaber.
I think this is really going to work well in Alita's box office favor, because I mean, like, people are going to be hot. Well, yeah, I'll say that. But people are going to be high off watching the first episode of Mandalorian, and they'd want to sort of continue that natural high. And it's like, well, they see something like this artwork, and they say, oh, I might as well go watch it later and continue having fun for the rest of the night. And yeah, especially if they're not going to go out trick-or-treating or anything like that.
I mean, could you imagine what this would have been like if Mandalorian dropped the whole season that weekend? It probably would have been nuts.
I think it's good for Alita that they didn't do that. So otherwise, the people would binge the whole season, at least 8 or 9 episodes at once. and the other thing is also they can build up the excitement a lot better if you can stream it. Like I would also prefer that they prefer that style, that they bring each week an episode and people can enjoy that episode, talk about it on the web, and then go into the second one, the next one. So,
well, I bet you that Robert Rodriguez, to a certain extent, might have asked around if he could retweet that fan art, because, you know, he probably doesn't want to ruffle too many feathers over at Disney. But I wouldn't be surprised if someone at Disney was like, yeah, why wouldn't we want that art out there? It's almost like you could kind of sense an implied approval. It's like, see if it works.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually true. They have to get that approval before they simply can endorse something. It's an official statement in a way, yeah. I see that.
Okay, just let me share my screen again. I got a couple more tweets and things to go over, which I feel are newsworthy but haven't made it onto the blog yet. That one. That one. Shit. Okay, so let me just make this a bit bigger so we get rid of the junk. Okay, so Bringing the Geekdoms posted this, which I felt really encapsulates the feeling of the AlitaArmy and what we're trying to achieve as a positive fandom. So I want to call out the AlitaArmy for being so welcoming. It was a little more than a month ago. I finally sat down and watched Alita Battle Angel. What took you so? I was blown away and immediately jumped on to join their movement. I'm sitting here now 6 weeks later, still in awe of that film. So there's a lot of responses like this where people join the fandom and they're just amazed at how friendly and keen and excited and positive we all are. And I want to thank you, AlitaArmy, for being like that, because that's what keeps me here. I would not be doing the amount of work I'm doing for the fandom if you guys weren't so wonderful. So thank you very much, guys. And that's all of you, everybody on the panel, everybody listening, everybody who's going to listen. You guys are great.
And it's not just from like playing devil's advocate. It's not from like AlitaArmy agents, if you will. These are like randoms from other fandoms and just randoms in general that's saying like, wow, this movie is amazing, this fandom is amazing. And it doesn't just stop at like 1 or 2 or 20. It's, it started even last year, I believe, or at least like September, October, when that massive thread on the AlitaArmy account was first started, and it's got like hundreds of why didn't I see this movie earlier? What took me so long?
That's the power of the internet, man.
So Cinemark also posted today, sorry, not today, this week, is there anything the AlitaArmy can't do? Amazing. So when a cinema company reacts like that, you know you've done something right. Or probably
I'm seeing in that message, so I have to.
I haven't liked that yet. What's wrong with me? There we go. So yeah, guys, we're getting props. So this is terrific. This is terrific. This is what we like to see. And there's Mario. He loves posting responses to these sorts of things. And Vladdy. So these are all guys who are getting stuck into it. And Charles. So there's lots of responses to that. What else we got here? Okay, so you got a bit of competition, Mike. I got to say, Looper has been getting on board the bandwagon. What do you reckon about that?
Better late than never.
You know what? I'm kind of glad to have other publications out there covering this, because that's just a sign of the imprint that the fandom's leaving. Bigger imprint from the fandom, bigger imprint for a sequel. I mean, I might be a little more biased in the content that we post, but it's still nice to see, someone else is going out there and doing the thing.
Yeah, well, the more the merrier.
Exactly. Although I don't hate Hugo. I can't get on board with that.
I don't hate Hugo either. I mean, he had to be there so that Alita had something to lose, basically.
Yeah, and you know what? He's a young kid who sees the error in his ways when he starts to develop his relationship with her, and I can't hate the guy. He did some bad things, but he was trying to make up for it.
Well, redemption is a very strong
recurring theme.
Yeah, it's an important theme in movies that hit you emotionally. So I think that it was well used.
Although I'm always blown away by the fact that you watch that the original concept art reel, he was supposed to survive.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I'm so glad to do that. Jeez.
I mean, the entirety of the video, that concept really was interesting. What kind of ideas they had, and it was a lot darker than what, at least from the tone, from the colors, etc. But yeah, they did also some significant changes, and having Hugo survive that one would, yeah, I think that wouldn't be a wise decision to do that, because there's a lot of things Alita learned because of his death, and she wouldn't have that character growth if he had survived.
Well, the two things that really jumped out at me the very first time I saw Alita, which was at a pre-screening on about the 14th of February? It was the Saturday night before the official opening. And the two things that jumped out at me was the F-bomb, because it's one of the greatest F-bombs in cinema as far as I'm concerned.
Yes!
And that was totally, that was off the cuff. There was no hint of that in the manga. So, it was something completely new that was added by the film adaptation. But then when she got the phone call after she killed Vector, and you're like, oh shit, are they going to do it? Are they actually going to do it? Are they really going to do it? And then they did it. They had the pipe scene, and it's like, yes, they did it. They had the balls to do it. Excellent. Because that's like a defining moment for Alita. That's like her young life comes to an end, basically, in the manga and in the OVA. It's like she's doing everything in hopes of spending a life with this boy, and then it's over. And what is she going to do with herself after that? And a lot of people can feel that emotion because they've had times in their lives where shit like that's happened to them. And, it's not a happy ending. It's not everything comes up roses, and that's life. And that gives the whole thing a whole lot more depth and a whole lot more punch. And I'm so glad that they went that way, because if he'd survived, it would be just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to see that.
Yeah. They would have completely missed the point if they'd done that.
Exactly.
And even making Nova directly responsible for it in a way sort of misses it, but not quite. They did enough, I think. It was balanced.
Well, it's just like one of the most defining moments of James Bond's most recent history was that ending of Casino Royale when Vesper dies.
The finger scene, the finger scene was very important to me. He dropped his armor. This was one of the most human moments to me, and that was the first time I really thought, wow, James Bond is a human. That was great. I really. Yeah, but her death also was very impactful to him because he had acquired his humanity.
Exactly, and this is also one of the most banged up Bonds we've ever seen. Like before, James Bond sort of fell into a pattern where, you had the Roger Moore era where things were going a little more jokey, and then Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan kind of balanced each other out too. With there was still some humor, but a deadliness to it. But Bond was getting out of things a little too perfectly and a little too Deus Ex Machina sort of things. He'd get a little banged up, but Casino Royale is the most banged up emotionally and physically you see the man go through. It's just really crucial to that origin of what turned him into the kind of cold-hearted bastard he became. And, you watch that ending of Alita, you see how she becomes that warrior.
Yeah. How she's broken. There's this very scene in front of the mirror. That was one of the reasons I got my Alita tattoo, because in that very moment she's broken, and she's now part of she's trapped in the darkness, and she gotta get out of there again. And that was very impactful to me. I mean, the Alita is a character is based on tragedy, and this was the introduction for more to come, and that's why I'm fighting for a sequel. I want to see her fight her way out of the darkness she's trapped in right now.
Well, I don't think it's gonna happen in the next movie, because the next one's theoretically called Fallen Angel. So, I mean, that could be referring to how she's at the beginning of the movie, but I think that she's got more to go through yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, much worse, I guess.
And think also what goes together with this tragedy. It's a big part why I really like this movie is above a lot of other, as I would say, superhero movies, is the fact that it's sincere. It's not. It doesn't dive itself into just comedy and jokes after jokes. It just wants to tell a great story, an epic, and you are allowed to invest into that and to be submerged in that story, because every joke they throw, everything that is like aware, throws you out of this involvement, and they don't do that. That's a good thing. Why this movie allows you to connect that well. I had that like only with when I compared it with Marvel. The first Iron Man movie, I had that kind of feeling when I saw what kind of trouble Tony Stark had to go through when he was in the hands of the Taliban or those terrorists, and what he experienced there, and the person he met there, and that thing, and the man that basically made a friendship with that person, and he helped him out of that misery and out of his like deepest trouble or the deepest problem he ever got in his life. And then to see at the end that his friend, he can't save him because he's already a dead man. He lost his family and all that stuff. And that was so emotionally well done, and they allowed it to be like that dark in that time. But I don't think they didn't keep that kind of, even though it was very well executed, they didn't keep that and went more into the root of we do more jokes. And it's not my thing, you could say. But I think that's when I would compare that, I would compare that emotionally in a way with that first Iron movie. So to have something from the Marvel domain, I could say.
It's kind of crazy to go. Oh, go on, you first.
As long as the future isn't saved by a rat, it's all good.
I like that little bit. I like that bit in Endgame.
Oh,
But
look, I'm a writer, and I could have written that scene better. All I had to do was have the thing automatically activate because it was running out of power. They didn't need a rat to run across it.
I still like the rat gag. Team rat gag.
Yeah, but that basically says if it wasn't for a rat, the future was ruined. It's like
that's life, man.
Master
That's
Splinter.
life.
You think Master Splinter?
But that's interesting because bringing up the early Iron Man, like you go back and look at all the Avengers movies up until Disney bought Marvel, and there's still those sort of rough edges and a little bit more darkness and a little more mature humor that stuck through it. But then once it started to become more of a Disney Marvel thing, that kind of faded away a little bit. And, you know, they softened Tony up a little bit. And, you know, I'm surprised they got away with what they did with Guardians at some points, but it kind of became more of a product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that we got Logan, to be honest.
Well, that was pure Fox. That was before before merger.
You're right.
That's them just letting James Mangold do his thing because he's made the best X-Men movies, bar none.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
I mean, my personal take on the whole Fox Disney merger is that Disney should keep the thing happening on Disney Plus and their Disney movie brand, and use Fox for the more mature stuff like Aliens, Predator, and well, Simpsons, but God knows why we need any more of that.
Please don't.
And Alita, put Alita in the 20th century section,
Studios.
do it there, and then we can have our rated ones and keep the manga folks happy.
Oh, absolutely. And then also that's to a certain extent, that's what they're still doing with the brand because they still have a lot of Fox movies to release that would never be under Disney. But then you've also got something like Free Guy, where like that's going to be very off Disney brand, but still, you know, still suitable for families, but it's off-brand just enough that you would never see that be released as a Disney movie.
Yeah, Antlers is coming out in February, and that's from
Oh,
Fandom. So
that is another one that I've been so mad got pushed because
I
I've
was
been waiting
pissed
for
when they
that.
pushed that back. I was so mad.
This Free Guys thing is starred by Ryan Reynolds, if I remember right, is it?
Yes, and it looks absolutely insanely beautiful.
I hope they bring it out.
I'm sorry, the most disappointed I've been this year is when they moved June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forward to that.
Right after that trailer too.
Yeah.
Hey, look at this. Starts elevating now. Wait a year.
Basically.
You know you're gonna wait another year. You know it. It's like basically what
I
they're
want to
saying.
know when the Cameron needs to put out an Avatar 2 trailer at some point soon, because I think people are going to start being like, yeah, I'm just going to keep delaying this.
That's been pushed to 2022, so they still got more time.
I know. That's what's crazy. I'm going to guess put out some like actual teasing images maybe
I thought it's 2021.
next year, early next year.
It got pushed back again.
Okay.
No,
They pushed it
2022.
back again, and now we're getting a comic in January.
Okay. Damn.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah, like a comic that's gonna be. Well, Cameron
I mean,
always
I don't know if it's
promised
like
he
that,
was gonna
but-
write novels.
I really hope they would have used that re-release to plug in an Avatar trailer, but I guess that won't happen.
It's a little bit too far out, I'd say.
It's too far. Yeah. If it would have been
Way too far out.
Yeah, if it would be winter 2021, then they would have at least the right spacing, could bring the first Avatar trailer with the re-release of Alita. So it would have been good enough. But with 2022, it's way too far.
But at the same time, they could have they could have taken advantage of it and filmed like maybe a small B-roll of like behind the scenes footage, and then James Cameron could have came out and been like, you know, hi, I'm James Cameron. We're currently working on the Avatar sequels, and you know, thanks for coming to Alita Battle Angel, and you know, don't forget Avatar 2 is coming in 2022 or something like that. Like that, that's definitely a lost opportunity, because think of how many people might have actually gone to see that tease. I mean. You had Wing Commander taking the episode 1 trailer back in 1999, and I'm sure they got a bump.
See.
I like that Wing Commander movie. I know a lot
I
of
did
people
too!
didn't. Kilrathi are a great bad guy.
I remember that one, just this one, they had a really cool scene built in with some sorts of zero gravity action close to a black hole or something like that. And that was something that was really great for that time. So, and I remember
The Black Hole, that was a Disney movie.
Yep, we were supposed to get a remake.
I went and saw that at the cinemas. That place is my age, doesn't it?
Well, I won't tell if you don't.
It had the most well, that was the first, I believe it was the first full CGI opening of any movie, was the Black Hole, because it had that grid, the tumbling across the grid and going down into the siphon of the black hole. Do you remember that, Mike? The start of the movie?
I vaguely remember that. I only really saw it once, and I think I do remember that.
Go back and watch it again, or if you haven't got time, check out Comedic Arts on YouTube. There's a fellow, he's Australian, he's in Melbourne. He does 10 things you didn't know about. They're particularly good because you find out about all the background stuff about different movies, and his one about the black hole is really good. So I highly recommend Comedic Arts. So check that out on YouTube. But yeah, you find out about all the background stuff, you know, like 10 things you didn't know about Ghostbusters, 10 things you didn't know about Conan, 10 things, hundreds of movies he's done.
I love lists like that. Like, even if I know the stuff, I kind of just like hearing some of the stories again. I was honored to actually get to write we did a 10 things you didn't know about Alita, or 10 behind the scenes facts things about that. And that was a lot of fun to sort of dig in and see, wait a minute, Guillermo del Toro introduced the manga to James Cameron, and then it brought in the concept art reel and everything. And You know, it's really funny that you mentioned Black Hole in this conversation, because that was another era where Disney was kind of in transition and very unsure of what it was doing, because they were, I think it was like only a couple of years prior to that, you know, Disney World opened up, Walt Disney passed away, and they were still trying to find their way as a company as to what they were doing with especially live action. Like you look at a lot of the movies that came out in there, The Black Hole, Tron, Something Wicked This Way Comes, The Watcher in the Woods. There was like wild stories behind what happened with those movies.
Well, The Black Hole was quite a dark story for Disney, especially Disney today.
Well, look at Watcher in the Woods. They actually pulled the movie from theaters and re-edited it to put it back out. I think it was Watcher in the Woods. It was either that or Something Wicked This Way Comes. But one of those two, they actually pulled from theaters, re-edited the film, and put it in theaters again because, you know, it wasn't Disney.
Sorry, I was just answering somebody on the chat. So something else that happened this week, we got Mark Hamill. We actually had a guest on a couple of weeks ago. Got to go back a bit. Now, what's the person's name?
Chat name is Peeler, but yeah.
Anyway, I can't remember her name, but she's from. Thank you. A proud resistor. Very good. Yes. So she's on Twitter. She's a big Mark Hamill fan, and she has one-on-one conversations with him every now and again. She's trying to get him to watch Alita Battle Angel. He hasn't seen it yet that we know of. But yes, Jeff in chat says he stated that I haven't watched it yet. So we're still trying to get Mark Hamill to watch Alita. So we'll see if that comes to pass.
I'm sure he will at some point. I mean, he definitely feels like one of those actors that not only likes to be in science fiction, but he just is a fan too. I can't wait to see what he thinks of it.
Well, after having his hand chopped off in Empire, he basically became a cyborg. So they were sort of saying, "Hey, one cyborg to another, you should watch Alita," kind of, linking it across in whatever way they possibly could.
Didn't you write an article on the Saber versus Damascus Blade, or was that someone else?
Oh, yeah, that was the other pull-in. Yeah, what would win, the lightsaber or the Damascus Blade? So
I still want to do I kind of want to get some of our Cinema Blend people in on a video panel for that, because I want to debate that. I'm ready to do some research, and I think I know who might win.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking that the lightsaber might be a bit OP.
A lightsaber might be OP under normal circumstances, but considering how powerful Alita's heart is, and that's probably where the energy is coming from for the plasma corona, if she pushes herself real hard, she could probably keep up, if not maybe slightly do some damage.
Well,
but I still.
If there's any link to her manga abilities, she's actually got plasma controlling powers. That's her special Panzerkunst ability, is plasma control. So if the lightsaber is a plasma weapon, then she could just bend it or turn it off. It's like,
but I still like the what some people say. It's like, I don't think they would really want to fight each other because they're both forces of good. And especially if you're talking about like later, like sequel trilogy Luke, he'd probably want to discuss. He's more, stern and he's better with talking through things rather than just fighting.
Yep, true enough.
Just to quickly touch on that subject, though, even in the Star Wars universe by itself, they have the element of cortosis, I think it is, and if a lightsaber, like the cycle of energy in the lightsaber blade, if that ever gets interrupted, it gets shut down and can't reignite for like a good hot minute or something like that. And of course, the Damascus steel isn't, let's just say it doesn't have those properties, but I mean, once it is charged up with the plasma, as Mike said, when the blades would clash, I don't think the lightsaber would just simply slice through the Damascus blade. It'd hold, and he'd have to like apply pressure, force, and over time to even damage the blade.
Well, we've seen bits in some of the movies where they were trying to cut open a door using lightsaber. It took some time, and you see her slash at the Centurions and cut one of them in half with just a swing. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, but you're talking about Centurion armor versus like a starship blaster.
Well, we don't
And
know.
plus, that's in a world where people know lightsabers exist, so they can probably build their structures to, withstand certain amounts of pressure. Like that's a known quantity for them, where they're like, okay, a lightsaber burns this bright, so we make these hulls, we reinforce them by like this much, and we get by ourselves some time.
True.
That's all true, yeah.
Speaking of which, does anybody here follow Hacksmith? The Hacksmith?
The guy that makes the homemade lightsabers, I think.
Oh yeah, they made a plasma lightsaber.
Ooh.
Pretty cool
Did
shit.
you see that,
honestly.
Mike?
I did not see that.
4,000-degree plasma lightsaber. They used a glass blower's sort of like a Bunsen burner type arrangement, and they put it into a handle, and they use pure oxygen and acetylene, and it burns at 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And cuts
So
through
don't
shit.
touch it without a glove.
No, not at all. But yeah, they actually cut a safe open with it.
Oh, wow. See,
Good
that's
dude.
what the Liam Neeson movie was missing. Give him his lightsaber to cut into those safes.
That's right. They even added metallic chemicals to the blade to change its color, so they could even make the sort of orangey yellow blade at the end of the last movie.
Oh, no, that's just showing off.
It
But I
is.
like
It seriously is.
It's like, look what we can do.
Science has given us the power, and now we're irresponsible. They're not irresponsible. They actually did it safely.
They tried to, yes. he did wear some molten metal at one point, and then increase the PPE. So jumping back to the news for a second, another Looper article that came out this week. How close is Alita Battle Angel to the original anime? Now, not only did Angelus pull these up for the show notes, so thank you for doing that, Angelus, but he is a big fan of how close the movie actually was to both the OVA and the manga. So, Angelus, did you want to say a little bit about this particular article?
Well, let's just start off by saying that because of the fact that the OVA itself had to fit back in the day, had to fit the manga into what was a 1.5 hour time slot, because I'm pretty sure the OVA was shorter. Of course, it had to take its liberties, and because it was an adaptation, it had to, tell its own story while still, paying homage to the source material. Like one of the main points, is, as we all know, is that Shirin wasn't a character in the manga. But yeah, like in the article they released, they linked a video, and what really amazed me is that the video itself went for like about 8 or 9 minutes.
Yep.
For like, again, I'm terrible with these puns, but 99% of the video was literally the actual side-by-side comparison. So for a full 9 minutes, it was literally showing all the scenes that were either mirrored almost completely, or like there was so much
They were referenced.
that, like, you could even forgive or even forget about like the minor differences. One big example that all three share is in the very first 5 minutes of the scene in the scrapyard, and like with Yudo pulling out the eye, discovering the body. Like literally, the only difference is the fact that probably because he's a little bit older, you don't see Christoph Waltz bloody hulking around a 50-kilo half cyborg sort of thing as he did in the OVA. But But yeah, so like what they really won me over in that context is that they shared so many similarities, and it was still able to make their own story. They were still able to make their own adaptation and do their own thing, bring something new to the table, and still have so much, still be able to pull so much detail from both source materials. And when you look at the, how should I say, the hoodoo of adaptations, and especially anime adaptations in Western Hollywood, they tanked before they even reached the first screening. It didn't happen. And I think the closest in terms of box office was what, Avatar? Not Avatar, sorry, The Last Airbender, as it's called. But
Different Avatar.
yeah,
Much different Avatar.
yeah. But
Certainly.
and yeah, it didn't even make nearly as much money as Alita did, and like it's like I'll say forever that it's going to be the benchmark for anime adaptations, and it will be for some time to come.
Oh, definitely. That side-by-side comparison is on Matt Scooter's SKUTA. It's on his YouTube channel. And yeah, it's particularly good. I really liked it. I was actually watching it for reference material for another thing I'm doing. We were actually hoping to have Dan from the Movie Cellar on the last 2 weeks, but unfortunately this time of day he's usually out with one of his kids for a sporting event. So he couldn't make it on today, but I'll be recording with him on Monday US time for a special the Movie Cellar Alita Battle Angel Alita OVA edition to promote the re-release. So we're going to compare the OVA and the movie. So look out for that on the Movie Cellar podcast, hopefully before the end of the week, because obviously we need to get it out before Halloween.
And just as a bit of a special mention, I believe who just joined us about half an hour ago, Cranberry got a little bit of a gift from Dan and the Movie Cellar guys in the form of a Alita OVA VHS.
You talking about that VHS I got from them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the actual movie film that they had transferred to a VHS.
You don't often get things being transferred backwards, but those guys are special.
Yes. I did record a video of me putting it on. I haven't had time to upload it yet, but oh my gosh, guys, it looks like a low-res GIF. It's hilarious.
But that's practically it is a unique piece of Alita merch that, quite literally no one else would have, except maybe if they did have a master copy back at their place. But I mean, who else has that?
How have they not re-released that onto at least DVD, if not Blu-ray?
I think it's a licensing issue.
Oh, that's fair. It is an anime, and if there's anything that anime loves, it's robots and licensing issues.
I actually have the OVA on DVD. I picked it up a couple of weeks ago.
Like an official one, or is it bootleg?
I believe it's official. It looks pretty official.
Huh.
It was eBay, and it was only like $16 US, so it wasn't horrifically expensive.
There's a couple of copies out that they're official, but they're not US editions. I'm not sure what the situation is in other countries, but in the US, the ADV has been out of print for many years now.
Of course, because if it's going to go out of print, it's going to go out of print here.
Well, the world is a big place. You can usually find what you're after somewhere.
And with
I need to
Australia,
get a region-free player.
Have one of those. Very useful.
Yeah, especially with some of those Arrow video releases where it's like, hey, we're putting Old Boy out in January, but it's only for the UK.
Damn it. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. we've been having lots of fun here. Come on, Star, don't ruin it.
Star's the other statesman.
Yeah, he's got the whip out. He knows his stuff. Okay, so thank you, Cranberry, for joining us. Cranberry has been, just before she joined us here, recording voiceover as our the Alita of the AlitaArmy for the prequel trailer. So that's a special honor.
She's got the heart.
I'm trying, guys. Go easy on me.
Sure.
Is that a movie reference?
Maybe.
Wait, have we been talking about a movie this whole time?
Apparently.
Oh.
Guys. Anyway, sorry. Yes, hype train.
So, basically, we've got this re-release thing happening. Has anybody heard of that?
No,
I'm like so far behind on all of this stuff. So why don't you catch me up on this? Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay, so there's this bunch of crazies out on the internet called the AlitaArmy, right? And they love this movie called Alita Battle Angel, which I've heard it's a good movie. I don't know. I'll take your word for it. Okay, and yeah, they're so keen about it that they talked a couple of cinema chains into putting it back on at the cinema.
Bullies.
Yeah, misogynists. Yeah.
There's plenty of other movies to show right now.
Yeah, it's just that nobody wants to release anything.
The War with Grandpa.
He bullied them into submission, or
So anyway, we'd like this to go well. I hope that everybody's been buying up the tickets. I did hear a statistic. It probably came from Charles Schmidt because he's the statistics guy. Something about on average for the cinemas that have been made available with tickets for the release, the average is about 8 seats per cinema, which is apparently quite good at the moment.
Oh yeah, because some places are operating at like you want to take it in I know some places like New York is only 25 seats maximum.
But basically, for the number of people who are shying away from the cinema at the moment, and apparently they're staying away in droves. 8 seats per cinema average, so that's some cinemas are less, some cinemas are more, is actually quite good for this time in the cinema cycle, if you get what I mean.
Totally.
So yeah, we'd like that to go up. I do know that people who are not in the US are actually buying cinema tickets to try and help the release. Yes, Dennis is one of them. How many have you got now, Dennis?
20 at this point. I'm planning to buy some stinking front row seats nobody wants to use, so
wow.
Why not?
So yeah, if you're not US and you want to support the re-release but obviously can't get there, that's one way to do it. You buy tickets online, and you can also contact the cinema and say, hey, these seats are available for anybody that wants to just come in and see a movie and not have to pay for it if they can't afford one. So you can also do that. It's not easy because it's very localized.
Well, it'd also be really cool if there was a way to get postcards out to the cinemas that say, enjoy this movie, and if you're more interested in, learning more, come to the AlitaArmy.
Well, I'm sure if people are going to the cinema to see it, what you could do is just like put flyers around the car park or something like that under people's wipers. and just spread the information that way. I mean, people might necessarily want to handle the piece of paper, but I suppose it's one way to do it. Certainly, people like Mario, who may or may not be in the chat. Oh, yeah, there he is. Mario's in the chat. He's got his car decked out in decals for Alita. So parking that in the car park, people will see a bit of Alita advertising there as well. But there's all sorts of creative ways that you can go about it. So what possible things we could do in the next week to get the word out about the re-release? We've got the billboard running. So I think that finishes about midweek, doesn't it, Fox?
The billboard started at 20 and it should go for full 7 days.
Right, so we finished on the 27th, so that'll be a bit before the actual re-release. So it's a little bit of advanced warning. The YouTube ads have been running. Star, do you have any update on how that's been going?
One second. Okay, so yesterday, well, the first day was really good. Yesterday started off really good, but then kind of took a dip. And today started off slow, but looks to be going better. It's kind of like a roller coaster, and a lot of times I'm sort of panicking, like, is it something to do with the way I said it? And then it goes back up, and I'm like, okay, I calm down a little. But it's getting out there. I don't have the page pulled up to show you the impressions and all of that stuff right now, but one idea that I had, since I'm on the mic now, let me just throw it out there, is that for next week we should try to piggyback on Halloween, and not. I don't think Twitter is ever going to let us trend, at least not around election season. So what we can probably do though is just try to squeeze into the Halloween conversation and maybe pick up a few people who are talking about Halloween by using maybe Alita Halloween or something, just to get, squeeze our way into that conversation.
Maybe even use cosplay pictures and ideas, like with the daily pictures from the AlitaArmy account, stuff like that. Can you tweet that out?
Didn't Lou do a drawing of Alita sort of decked out in Halloween costume, sort of like fishnet stockings and a witch's hat and stuff? Or was I imagining that? Maybe we just need to get him to do that. Come on, Lou.
You know what would be really interesting, and it just popped into my head then, is you get a classic Halloween character and costume like Mike Myers. And I know this is going to sound stupid, but you paint the red blood under his eyes. I mean, come on. How awesome would that look?
Well, he's not short of blood, so yeah, I could see him doing it.
Exactly. Or just like, because that part of Alita's look is so iconic, like you can just do that with any character, any costume, and people will, or at least people that know Alita will go, that's Alita, and it'll just be in their heads, in their minds, and it'd be out there. Just by a simple decoration. Now you get people that actually cosplay as Alita, and you get them to go like trick-or-treating Halloween, you get them going to the re-release on the 29th, for example, in some cinemas, cosplaying as Alita, much like how people dress up as like Jedi for midnight screenings of Star Wars movies, and yeah, we'll just sort of flow on from that.
So yeah, mashups could be quite popular. You could mash up Alita cosplay with just about anything. You could do an Alita cosplay with a witch's hat and a broom, and be witch leader or whatever you want to do to turn Alita Halloweeny and get the two things happening together. So one thing that I'm highly recommending is that if you've got a local radio station that you listen to regularly and they have phone-in opportunities where you phone in and tell them what you're doing on the weekend, or maybe they have a thing where they're saying, what are people doing for Halloween? You can jump on there and say, well, I'm going to the Alita re-release at X Cinema locally to watch, the best sci-fi cyberpunk action flick of 2019, which is now back in cinemas for Halloween 2020. And just get it out there on the radio. You never know how many people are listening. Explain to them that you can go safely with the mask, sanitizer, and social distancing, and get that information out there on the radio, because a lot of people listen to the radio. It's one of those things where you can't skip the ad, you can't fast forward. If you're listening to the station, you're listening. So it's information that will get out. So give that a shot. See if your local radio station is having phone-ins for what are you doing over Halloween, and get that information out there.
Or even something that's already happened, I think, once or twice already. I forget who did it. Is radio stations that do song requests. You can, obviously the only one in this particular instance would be Dua Lipa's Swan Song. But if you wanted to, when you do request it, you say, oh, I want this song that's mostly known from the movie Alita Battle Angel soundtrack. You can sort of get that into people's heads in that way.
Hey, Angelus, is this what you were looking for?
Yes.
Something like this?
I didn't even realize someone. Oh, Cranberry did it. Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean by the mashups. You just one thing iconic look, but then if you wanted to take it further, you can draw cosplay or whatever Alita as, in reverse, have Alita dress up in a Halloween costume of any kind.
So I'm reminded of something else that we can do. We can also have, for the cosplayers out there, if any are listening, or if maybe after this we can each individually find one and grab them and give them the idea. If they could post a cosplay, a picture, it doesn't even have to be a new one, just any cosplay, and then around October 29th, right? And use that to during the Halloween holiday, and try to get people to um, or try to raise awareness of the re-release. Use the hashtag Go Watch Alita, right? And post your cosplay for Halloween, and that might catch some eyes and help us out. So that's one idea.
I'm going to take some photos of myself in some costumes, with maybe holding the DVD or something, to try and do some sort of promotion a little bit closer to.
So there's an old saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So whenever you have an idea that could get Alita's name out there and get more people going to see the re-release, do it. You might feel silly. It might not work. But if you don't try, you don't get. Okay? We would never have got this re-release and jumped up and down and asked for it. It's a matter of, if you don't do anything, you don't get anything. So always try. And you never know what you might discover. You might find a whole new avenue to get the information out there, and you might get 20, 30, 40 people to go. And that would be great. Anything that you can do to promote the movie and get people going along to see it safely, and always emphasize safely, then that's what we're hoping to achieve. So, Mike, thanks for coming back. You situated now to keep talking?
Yeah. The appointment wasn't as over as I thought it was, because it's funny. I'm talking from the car right now as my wife is going through a hair appointment. She's getting a bit of coloring, and she's like, "Oh, you can come back in." I was like, "Okay, fine." I go back in, and she's like, "I just wanted to show it off to you. We still have to curl it and do that." It's like, "Oh, okay, then I'm just gonna go back outside."
Oh, I know how that works.
I need it out of the house. It's like, originally I was thinking, oh, I'll stay home and I'll do the call from home. But then it's like, you know what? I have a phone. it works really well. So why don't I go and do the crawl from the car? And it's actually been a nice night out to do that.
Cool. Yeah, we often get odd John Hoots here driving home from work, and he just puts his phone on and chats to us while he's driving home. So it can be done.
Also Eddie is doing that too from time to time, so talking from the car. And Mario did that time too, so drive-by calls. Where are we at with the news part? Did we finish the news section?
I think we did. There was so many different things coming up. We didn't actually officially mention the trailer that you're working on, Foxfire. Do you want to just quickly go over how that's progressing and when you're expecting to have it finished?
Yeah. Currently, we have so a lot of those scenes. We have basically worked on a scene-per-scene base, and with you, Ray, I've worked on the text. So yeah, we are basically, I think, like 80%, 90% done, and it now is like in the final stage where we put those scenes together and new voice lines that I got from Cranberry. And there's just one scene that I actually need to create, and that's basically at the planet Saturn with Alita, and get some of those facial expressions transferred. I can't create them my own, but I can make some kind of motion capturing. So try at least that. If that works out, then it will be in the trailer. If not, then we have to work around that. But it's going pretty well, and I've released yesterday basically a movie poster, I could say, for that one. Also, I had a lot of fun when I finished my Alita to try that out and pose it and do different angles and shots with her to see how it looks and all that stuff. And so one of those posters came around, and I used that background from Primal Rex from the planet Saturn, which is really, really cool. And made that wallpaper. And so far, I really like that, like how that went, and so I hope we can release that at I think to the 28th. That's my aim to release that. Yeah.
So Cranberry was just, as I said, recording the lines for that about half an hour ago. So it's all coming together.
Yeah. It was a lot of work, and it's going on since February, basically. So for a very long time. And Ethan and Rex are like they're carrying so hard that project, and the backs must already hurt those poor guys. And Ethan just recently finished that whole scene where you can see where he recreated Zalem, and it looks like in the movie. It's so good what he did, and I just can't wait to show that final thing to the public.
Yes, when you put your heart and soul into a creative endeavor like this with a group of other people, the culmination, it's like, being involved in the actual movie to create something like this. So I'm looking forward to when it's going to be coming out.
That's what we call doing a Rosa, when you put your heart and soul into project.
Doing a Rosa. Sounds like something that should become a thing.
This fan trailer looks really good, guys, so far. It really does.
To reply to Muskogee, he says, can we get Foxfire's trailer into a Facebook ad? I will help pay for that. In as much as people from the fandom would understand the link, Muskogee, I don't think that people who haven't seen Alita yet would get the link because it's a completely different. It's a pre-story. It's not the actual movie. So, whereas somebody who's seen the movie would be interested, somebody who hasn't, I don't think would have the context for it. So I don't know how well that would work.
It would be quite interesting to see what people understand when they watch the trailer and the way it is set up. It has some kind of anchor point where you can get what it's about, but you won't get like the overall picture. For that, you would need to know a bit more about Gundam and about more of Alita's world. But technically, it should be people should be able at least to understand the situation when they watch the trailer. So that's why I'm doing it. And also make some general like world building aspects where at least you get to know some of the factions that are involved and some of the so it's so I will it will be interesting to see what people can get who are not so deep into Alita or who don't know Alita as much.
Certainly, will be on YouTube, and we'll draw a lot of attention to it on the various social medias. So we'll get a lot of people involved with checking it out and giving comment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a chat question this week. We haven't had a lot of respondents. Come on, guys, in the chat there. You've got to get on Twitter and YouTube and Insta and give us some feedback to the questions we asked. The question this week was, what is your most memorable experience of watching Alita in cinemas? We've had one response from Twitter. I think that was about the size of it. So Nathan Mark Sangway responded to the question with, we're getting there, fellas, and this time we'll triumph overwhelmingly to Salem and beyond AlitaArmy. So I don't think he quite got the question. He's just basically blown the horn about the re-release. So that's great. Happy that he's done that, but nobody actually answered the question this week. So come on, guys. We want to hear from you.
I think just to answer it even from my own point of view, and I will sort of lead this back into Alita, but the one other movie that I've seen multiple times, definitely not as much as Alita, but it would come close, is the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. And I think I watched that about 4 or 5 times in the first 3 days, I think. And because I'm a huge Broly fan in particular. And like every time I saw it in the cinema, it literally was like a first viewing sort of experience. And that's the feeling that I get every time that I watched Alita at the cinema. Like I only ever saw it twice. I was late to the party. You can eat me later, and I still get that feeling even watching it on DVD. Every time I see an Alita piece of artwork, every time I see like a clip of a movie itself on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, I just get that experience or reminder or throwback, if you will, to when I first saw it. And it brings back all that, I wouldn't say nostalgic, but all the positive energy that I was feeling when I first watched it. And I get to just relive it over and over and over again. And, as many times as I watched the movie over again. And, so I guess the short of it is that, my most memorable experience is just the simple fact that every time I do rewatch it, it's going to be like watching it for the first time again. And lucky for the guys and girls in the US, they actually get to literally watch it in the cinemas.
I would love to re-release in Australia. I remember every single time I went to the cinema, it was like, the excitement level never faded. Every time I went to walk in, I was excited. I hadn't really been to the cinema for like maybe once or twice a year for 4 or 5 years because I had a young child, so I couldn't get away very often. But I made sure that I snuck off at every opportunity to go and see Alita when it was showing. And every time I walked in, I was excited. It was just, I've never experienced anything like it. It was amazing.
And just going off your answer as well, it wasn't, I'm assuming it was because of the fact that you could get away. It was just purely the fact that you were watching your favorite movie of all time, practically. Again.
Oh, it is my favorite movie of all time. You're quite correct. Number 1 with a bullet. with
the fact that you were getting away from your daily routine as like, as a bit of a break. We all need a lunchtime break from our job. So, and yeah.
So, Mike, are you getting out to see the re-release?
Oh, I am absolutely getting amped to see it again. Again, it's just one of those movies that you really do. It really benefits from the theatrical experience, and it's big scale, it's big scope. Of course, you have that beautiful sound system just pumping that score and all that sound, all those sound effects, and especially in a year like this where I haven't been back to the movies too much. The only time I really went was I saw Tenet a couple times, but there really hasn't been a lot that I've wanted to go see. Although now that I'm going back for Alita, I see all these other fan favorites they've got there, and I might go see Jurassic Park again, just because I love that movie so much. But this is one where I really want to support it because I want to keep writing about it. I want to see more, and I want us all to get that great news together.
Totally. The day that the the sequel Greenlight announcement is announced is going to be an amazing week. I don't know that I'll be sober for the entire week. So.
You and me both, Max. You and me both.
I mean, we're going to have like a 24-hour drunk live stream, excitement, people screaming for the entire 24 hours drunk stream.
What will you do when they not release, when they actually announce the sequel, and how? And I would expect you to be drunk for a month at least. So.
I don't think my liver could stand that. A week will have to do.
You need breaks in between.
Yeah, that's right. Detox time. Checking in on our other lucky American counterparts. Cranberry, are you going out on Halloween to see Alita?
We are. Friday, we're going out with a friend that does not want to be named, but we're going to go see it with them. And Saturday, we were going to go with a whole group of people, and some crap happened, and now it's just us. So we're figuring it's going to be like date night, like the first time we got to watch the movie, it'll just be us going. So
nice.
I'm not sure if I'm going to cosplay, just because it was supposed to be a group of us doing it, and it's always weird when you're the only person.
Yeah, you need a bunch of people cosplaying to feel comfortable. I get that.
Well, only because you guys seen my Corolla. It's not a typical thing, especially if we show up early and we're going to walk around for a bit.
Well, it's not a character that's actually in the movie,
exactly.
So I mean, the manga people would actually get it. So it's a little bit of a reach. But still, hey, it's Halloween weekend, so why the hell not dress up?
I'll do something. If nothing else, I'll be decked out in Alita, everything. My tights, my shirts, things like that.
Put the blood under your eyes, you'll be good.
Oh yeah, I got some red paint. I can do that.
Yeah, lipstick, don't you? Just use that. Lipstick, or you can just buy like a cheap lipstick at a chemist or something and just sort of run that under your eyes.
I was about to say, you think I own any lipstick? Okay. But yeah, that's something. If anyone goes to see the movie on Halloween night, just take some red, cheap acrylic paint, or Halloween is here. You can go get the little tube of fake blood and just smear it under your eyes, and just make sure your mask is pulled down, or angled at a way where you can see it, or get a plain white disposable mask and put the battle marks on that.
Definitely. Sounds like a thing. So next week we're gonna have to work out something where we get some footage from people going to the cinema, so we can show that during the stream. So we'll be organising that during the week on various social media platforms. So hopefully we can get you all involved in providing us with some videos, so us poor non-US people can be all jelly over the
You're
video.
there in spirit.
Oh, totally we are.
Stream and rent the movie.
And Dennis is there in Northern Spirit. He's got like 20 seats already.
Apparently, there's 50 dentists that are going to go see the
John, are you there? John Hoots.
Oh, his mic's muted.
He is muted. John. Woohoo. Johnny boy.
Still alive?
He stepped away for a moment.
Good night, young boy.
Star, are you there?
Just let him unmute both mics for a second.
Mr. Star Avellian with his double mutes. Are you getting out to see the re-release?
Yeah.
Right. So what's your situation with going to the re-release? Are you taking anybody with you?
For me, no. Right now, I'm just going by myself because, I'm a little less concerned about the safety than other people are. So it'll just be me for now. But I'm fine. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, once the lights go down and the music comes up and you see that 26th Century Fox logo, you're in the zone, and it just doesn't matter who else is there. You just okay, I'm focused. Next 2 hours
I just can't wait to smell the popcorn again and everything, like just to be in the theater again.
I mean, that's something you just don't really get at home. I mean, you can microwave yourself some popcorn or something, but it just doesn't quite have the same sensory impact as the popcorn from the cinema.
My wife just told me I'm going to have to quarantine when I come home.
Put you through decon, dip you in Glen 20 or something.
Just bring a bottle of Lysol and spray yourself down before you get back out of the theater.
We have this, I think it's 70% ethanol spray stuff called Glen 20, which you spray on everything to decontaminate it or disinfect it. And if I was going to the cinema, I'd just take that with me, spray the seat down, spray myself down, just nuke everything, but go and see the movie. Have to go and see the movie. John, are you back? John boy.
I fucking fell asleep.
Oh. He's been working too hard. John, are you getting out to see the re-release and tell us the situation?
Hoping to bring my boss has already watched it on DVD or on Blu-ray, but he didn't get around to seeing it on the big screen. I told him, I said, I will take you, your wife, and everybody to watch it if you want to go. And she was like, so he passed up on it, but I think they're gonna go this time around. My mom might go watch it again, but she's not sure she wants to see it again. She didn't like it the second time. She liked it better the first time she saw it than the second time for whatever reason.
I've never heard that one. So
I know
people have it the other way around.
Let's be fair. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but
yeah. But I plan to watch at least once each day of that weekend. Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday I'll probably go to the Little Rock one. Because Little Rock, they have the brain's still turning back on. The Cinemark with the luxury loungers.
Ooh.
Hey, John, Enigma's saying you need to come down to Texas and watch it with him.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. As much as I'd like to, that's just not going to happen. I wish, but there's a lot getting in the way of that. Sorry for falling asleep. I don't know how long I've been out.
Cool.
You can always watch the video of the stream and work that out later.
Oh God! I heard Johnny. I was like, what the fuck? I wake up and I hear you guys talking right here.
Johnny.
But I do plan to go. I'll probably end up. Well, I told myself a year ago that if there was a second movie, I'd make Ito's Hammer my boss is good with like welding and art stuff. So I was like, oh shit, I should have gotten him to build me a Edo hammer, but didn't get around to it. Talked about it. Maybe I'll do that when it comes out. But
I'd like to think that at least the people listening in and those on the panel, you don't necessarily have to take pictures of, like, have yourself in the picture, but even just take a picture of the lobby, cinema. I don't know if you're allowed to, but like even maybe like before the movie starts, like how many people are in there, and like, you know, when you are, say, I went to the Alita re-release on, like when you post it on Twitter, say I went to the Alita re-release at this cinema on this date and had a lot of fun. You post out the picture, you tag the cinema chain, hashtag.
Yeah, do a head count too, just so we get an idea of how full the cinemas are. I'm sure Charles would like that data.
Bring oranges too.
And chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Chocolate with oranges.
You can't sneak in an orange, I don't know what to tell you.
Tell them it's for sanitation, maybe?
Unless the theater has oranges, then buy them from the theater. Because they probably need it more than I do right now.
Yeah, to be fair, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you are going to the theater to see it, guys, buy something from the concession if you can, because that is where the movie theaters make most of their money, even if it's just a drink or a popcorn.
Yep.
I know
Yeah,
in Cinemark's case, they have big bags of popcorn you can take out for $10.
There you go.
You know, I'm actually so Cranberry, you got one of those Hunter Warrior shirts that Cinemark put out, right?
Yes, I do.
When it first came out, I still have. I bought a few. One for my gal, and then her little sister Jessica. And then I still had two more. I had this the one that's all tattered and worn at this point. So many times I've worn it, but I still have the other one that I have not touched since. I think it was the one that I went to go watch it with my dad when I brought him. It's been sitting in the bag ever since. It still smells like, you know, that fresh T-shirt smell.
Mm-hmm.
Still has that fresh T-shirt smell. I'm thinking, should I go and wear should I wear the untouched one to the re-release, or should I go with the old tattered, beaten down Alita that's had since the start? I'm thinking, don't know. Might need to toss a coin on that one.
I say toss a coin.
Well,
you
you
could
need to
always
go twice, and you can wear 1-to-1 and 1-to-1.
There you go.
True.
I can solve all your problems by just making you go more often.
I wonder if they'll ever bring back some of those shirts. If they were to make. Oh, brain trailing, I'm sorry.
I have a feeling that they probably won't, probably just because they don't expect as many people.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for the re-release. I meant for the sequel when it comes out. Like if they do, instead of Hunter Warrior, if they'll do like Motorball or something like that.
Vault.
Like Motorball. Oh God, my brain really is not working right now. Like Motorball T-shirts from the theater.
I gotta look
Because
for
that's
the
probably
Hunter
going to be
Warrior
like the
one.
big sell. It's weird because their eyes are actually proportional to the face. I think only Cinemark put those out, and I think there's a couple of like geek stores online you can get them from. But I know you can get them on eBay if you really want to. But, I think GameStop has them, or at least they used to. Hunter Warrior.
I suspect that line has left there. You'd probably pick stuff up on Redbubble and the various other T-shirt companies online.
Yeah.
And is there an official store I can get that AlitaArmy T-shirt from?
Yes,
Yes,
which T-shirt website is that on? I can't remember. Thanks, Star. Yeah, so on Teespring, Mike.
I'll have to keep an eye out for that then.
I still haven't picked
That's
one
not a
up from
plug at
there.
all.
So there's a link posted.
And do we have chicken wing on there or no? wonder.
If we don't, we should. Okay, so we're rolling up past the 2-hour point, so we probably should bring this to a close soon. So next week, we haven't finalized the name of the episode next week, but it's something along the lines of Spooky Leader Halloween and the AlitaArmy back in the cinema. So we're hoping to get lots of footage of people going into the cinema. You don't have to film yourselves, but just film going into the cinema and sitting down, and the 26th century logo and what have you. Just show us that you were there. If you want to dress up and show us what you look like dressed up, please go ahead. But we'd like to get some video of you having fun at the cinema. That would be terrific. So join us for that one. Keep an eye out for that. Should be a good episode. If you want to come and join us and talk on the live stream, this is your live stream, AlitaArmy. So the details in the link to the sign-up sheet is in the video details. So please check that out and come and talk to us. It's very easy. You just open your mouth and noise comes out. Like that. Thank you, this week's guest, Mike Rees from Cinema. I'm sorry, I always say Rees. I don't know why I say that. Rees from Cinema Blend and Cranberry. Thank you both for coming on.
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate you
so much for having me.
Mike, you're welcome back anytime. Anybody who's been on the stream, we always advise them to come back and tell us how they're going and continue on with promoting the re-release, Leader Battle Angel movie, and pushing for the sequel.
I look forward to coming back.
I think I'm not sure if that's mentioned, but we have also something to look forward for coming week. That is the drone footage from the billboard.
Oh, right. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was still coming.
That will come. It's already signed, and they promised that they will be able to make it in time that we get some drone footage.
Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, that should be cool.
That should give you some pretty juicy material there, Mike.
I would certainly like to think so.
By the way, Mike, I think, I'm not even really sure how to put it, but we all really appreciate the support you and Sean O'Connell and everybody else has put towards this for the past year. Actually, coming 2 years pretty soon, probably. in March.
Insane.
So it's like, damn, that's a long time.
Yeah, well, it's a movie that's kind of it's something that you can't really stop talking about. It's that good of a movie. It's that good of a potential franchise, and just I know on my behalf, and I would like to think on behalf of the Cinema Blend family, it's been nice to have you guys reading our content and being able to sort of do each other a favor where you guys are doing this awesome stuff, we're able to report on it, and it's just keeping the message out there, boosting the signal.
Well, Mike, you print it
Absolutely.
and we will read it.
Yep.
Alita content is our jam, so you print it, we will read it.
Cinema Blend is the only website I haven't ad blocked.
There you go. That's special.
Thank you.
That's
I'm going to have
really
them put that on a poster.
Nice.
So thank you, listeners, for joining us. You are what makes the fandom special. You are why we do this every weekend. And if you want to come along and join us on here, this is your stream. This is your channel. You are the AlitaArmy. So come along and talk to us. We want to hear your opinions on our favorite movie. So as we like to say at the end of all the streams, slightly modified for the re-release, 3, 2, 1. Bye. Thank you for joining us, and see you next week. Bye for now.
Back when I was in the academy, we would follow every toast with a song. Chérie,
That's an interesting twist.